Right, Paul, we've done all the rotors. You're happy with those?
Very nice.
What's next? We've got all these parts here. I've seen you've been busy cleaning out there, so what's the story with the cleaning and preparation of these guys?
Again, used the parts cleaner and blew all the parts out with compressed air.
So even though they're new, they still need to be prepared and cleaned?
Exactly. They have all bits of swarf and metal and sand from the casting, so all needs to be cleaned.
So these are all ready to go then?
They are.
Including this plate here, which has also been cleaned?
It has.
Alright, great. I guess that told me before.
Okay, we've got the front stationary gear in. Now there's two lots of bolts. There's the long and the short stationary gear bolts. The short one is for the rear and the long one is for the front. And obviously quite different in length.
And what one have we got here? What
Well, this is a front plate and we'll start with the front.
Yep.
So we'll just temporarily put that in for now to hold it so it doesn't fall out, because we'll be turning the engine upside down.
Just need the one?
Just the one.
Okay.
First what we'll do is we'll start off by putting the gas and the water seals in.
Sure.
We'll get those done first. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll give you a syringe that we've got filled with Vaseline.
Okay, so now so there's two ways of doing this, and we can either lubricate the actual seals.
Yes,
or
by
we can
hand.
actually do it a better way, and that's
Yes,
to
an easy
lube
way.
up the holes.
Exactly.
Okay. About that much?
Looks fine.
Okay. Oops.
Doesn't matter if a little bit sort of extra goes in, you can always smear it off.
Yep.
Just makes it much quicker.
Once this thing gets going, it keeps going.
That's it. You'll be fairly sort of even with it.
Cheers.
You might pull it back just a fresh. That's it. Okay, and
Just
we
give
can
it
also,
a rub in there.
it's fine. It's a lot easier if you sort of drag it towards you. I'm trying to.
Notice that. Yeah, is there any specific, they're all the same, aren't they, for these plates? They don't have to, you don't have certain ones for certain plates?
No, they're all the same.
Okay.
I'll just borrow that if I can.
Oh, sure. I'll edit all that out, she's got. Alright.
Okay, so you've got the water seal there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, earlier on we talked about how the white section is on the sides and the contact patch is the black section.
Okay, but see how there's two white sections? There's one on the side. Does it matter which one's which?
No, because it's still come in contact.
Okay, so as long
Both
as you've
sides.
got the white, the black facing out.
Up.
Up, yeah, so
That's correct.
black is what you
On the
see.
contact faces, yes.
Yeah, okay.
The trick here is
Yes.
to start and work them around.
Is there something that needs to be lined up, or is that on the,
And that's how we insert water and any excessive amount of Vaseline can be wiped off.
Now these ones actually feel stiffer.
They are. They're quite brittle, so it pays not to sort of throw them around too much. Now you'll notice on there's a joint,
Right.
which is the weak point.
Does that need to go in a certain place on
It does.
Yeah.
And what that does is it goes in the cold section of the engine, just above the inlet port.
Okay. Now, orange facing up?
It doesn't matter. It can only go one way.
Okay, good.
Just above. So here we are here. It goes just above.
So it lines up with this hole
Or
almost.
very close to. Yep. And again, force it in force it around.
Okay.
Best not to leave too much Vaseline in there because it'll end up going through the water system.
Okay. That's alright.
Get a bit cheeky there.
Okay. So do you want to wipe this excess off?
It wouldn't hurt.
Okay. So we
Take a little bit off.
should. So we should wipe this excess
Yeah,
off.
you probably obviously put a bit too much on, but it's all good practice.
Yeah. Well, I'll edit that stuff out. We don't want to say it's all good practice. Someone customers engine.
Yes.
Okay, no, that's all good.
At least no one made a joke, but when I put Vaseline on, I always put too much on.
That's right.
Exactly. All right, so we've got those the gas sealing gasket and the what's the other one do?
This one here is the gas seal.
Yeah.
This one here is the water
Water.
seal.
Okay.
Yep.
So
What
water-
you do is repeat these to all the plates.
Yeah. Is it good practice to actually do this first before we assemble it?
It is. To do this to all the plates so that they're all ready to go.
All ready to go, so it just makes it easier to
Makes it
assemble.
much quicker.
Okay.
And then, because you're doing them all at the same time, you don't forget them. When
Sure.
you stop and start, that's
Okay.
when you might forget.
All right, so we'll come over here then. So it's not a very big job.
Not much Vaseline left.
And because this is a intermediate plate, there's about two sides to do, is that right?
That's correct. Same process for each one. The water seal can go wherever it fits in. There's no specific point of where you start or stop.
Great.
The secret is just to work your fingers around the outside.
Yep.
So push the fingers together.
Looks good. Okay, so just like you said, you find the join, and the join goes to the coldest part of the engine, which is
Just above the
Just
inlet,
above the
very
inlet.
close to this,
that hole.
to the hole.
Okay. Got that?
Now you see that it's actually a different shape, but that's okay. It'll form its own shape.
Yeah. Have you had any problems with these in the past?
No, generally they're very good.
No problems
you-
in
if
getting
you-
them in there?
No, well, in actual fact, the water O-ring you may have trouble with if you had lots of Vaseline on it and you left it for several hours. It may start to grow a little bit.
Okay. So you've got to be careful not to overdo it with the Vaseline. Really.
Well, not so much that, but once you've got it, get it in there.
Wipe it off.
Yes, and don't leave it for
Okay.
several hours, otherwise it will actually start to bulge and pop out.
Right. So shall we give this a wipe? The Vaseline is just to help it go in there,
So
right?
hold it in place.
Yeah.
Yep. Once the Vaseline's on there and they're in, it won't go anywhere.
Okay, good. Okay. You don't need one of these, though, do
No,
you?
no,
I mean,
certainly. To save time, yes, you'd use something like this, but no, you just use your fingers and spread the Vaseline in. Trick is not to put too much in, but just enough.
Yeah. You don't want them falling out when you're moving the plates around.
Exactly. was an early water seal. Again, it wouldn't have the white paint on it, which makes it a bit more tricky.
Okay.
So one side, where the paint is normally very shiny. So that is exactly the same size, or exact same side as the white painted section.
And what happens if you get it wrong? If you actually stick this in the wrong way?
Well, they are slightly different from one side to the other, so it's not advisable.
Right.
It may seal for a short amount of time, but it's more likely to fail.
And then you get like water leaks and
Exactly.
start using a lot of water.
So that's fairly important.
Where's that brake? Show me that brake.
That's the joint. Is it always green or is it some other colour?
There's the actual joint there.
Okay.
See the joint between there and there?
Yep.
That's the actual joint.
Okay.
Should we look? Show me again. Just point to it again. Sorry.
Between here and here, see how it's cut? You can see the line. That's where it's actually physically
Okay.
joined.
So it's not this green
No.
part here.
No,
They're actually looking for it's the.
that's that joint. Yes.
Right, okay, gotcha. And that's where it's got to go.
It goes just here above there. No.
Oh, okay, that's moved.
Yep.
Yep. Put it upside down. That's about there.
That's it, just above the inlet port.
Okay.
Again, it's just wiping off the excess.
Yep. Okay. That's that guy done, right?
See how it was on the bench and it's still there.
Yes, it is still there.
That's how sticky it is.
Yep, no, they're all in place. Last one.
Last but not least,
What's this one called?
this is the rear end plate. Might just have enough.
Yeah.
If not,
Alright, Paul, that one's all done.
lovely.
I'll stand that back up and you tell us what's next, mate.
Okay, well, whilst we're on the rear plate, we can look at some seals that we need to go in the rear plate. One of them here is a rear stationary gear O-ring, which fits in the back. And whilst we're here on the gaskets, you should always make sure with your gasket kit that you've got all your gaskets first before you start, because you want to make sure that when you finish the job they're all used. If you've got one extra that comes with the kit and it's left over, you won't know whether they've used it or you've missed it out.
Right.
So count them all first, make sure they're all there, then proceed. Okay,
There you go.
3 bolt washers, timing cover gasket, rear stationary gear O-ring, timing cover O-ring, oil pickup gasket, and these are the dowel O-rings which go into the rotor housings.
Great. And we've got the sub gasket.
Some gasket.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so we've got all the parts we need. We've worked on the side plates.
Yes. Whilst we're on the rear plate,
Mm-hmm.
what we'll do is we'll put the rear O-ring on, which just slides over. Into the little recess.
So no lubrication required there.
Now we will put some lubrication.
Okay.
Just so it doesn't pinch as it goes in. It's quite a tight fit. Okay. Now again, this will line up with the keyway
Right.
on the rear. I've also put a new seal in as well.
Yeah.
It's important to line up dowel, make it easier. And then it's just gently tapped in with the rubber hammer. Yeah, so I'm trying to work around it.
Put a fair once.
Yeah. I tried to whilst you're... Yep, that'll be fine. Okay, now that's all the way home. We use our short stationary gear bolts. We'll bolt that in for good.
Okay.
The front one we put in, which was only temporary, this one will be bolted up.
So what's the torque settings on those guys?
It's approximately 17 Newton meters. You need a tension wrench for that. And a 12mm socket.
$17 Newton meters or 17 foot-pound? Paul?
17 Newton meters.
Okay, that's about right.
That's what you told me anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. Generally when they're tightened up, they're done opposite to each other.
Probably should have used that,
Speed brace,
yeah, just to get it lifted up.
definitely.
Okay.
Complete. Okay. We've also installed at the same time the rear oil pressure regulator.
Mm-hmm.
That's normally just done up tight. Normally doesn't need any thread sealant, but you can put some on there.
Sure. Great. So is that the side plates prepared?
That's the side plates prepared.
Okay, great.
Okay, next we'll put the rotor housings. We'll come back here to our gasket kit. We'll grab our O-rings. There's 4 of them.
So you don't actually use Vaseline here, you use something else.
Use Hylamar.
Okay, so it actually sets it in there.
It's a non-hardening gasket cement, and it's very good.
Okay.
And all we do is we have the 4, so there's 2 recesses on each rotor housing.
Yep.
Go in like so. Just use a little bit of Hylamar. Just around the O-ring. A to hold into position, and just B for better sealing. To the back. Also too, while we're here, we will put some on the legs. What happens is oil down here in the sump section can actually pass between the 2 plates because there's no seal. So actually put Hylamar on this surface. To help seal. I'll give you an all tight seal, otherwise you may get weeping coming through here and on this leg.
Alright.
We'll do that on
Both sides?
both sides. Don't need too much, just a sort of a fine smear. It's more than enough. Okay, that's one rotor housing done. Some people use Vaseline. I just prefer to use Hylamar. Again, because of its sticky quality and it's an excellent gasket cement. They're all done.
Alright, so that's the rotor housings and side plates.
They're ready to all be put together.
Okay, good. Right, Paul, you've shown us how to prepare those rotor housings. Is there any other preparation work to do before we actually assemble it?
No, they're all pretty right now. All the seals are in. We've got Hylamar and also the O-rings for the dowels. So if you want to grab the front rotor housing,
Yep. We'll do this guy.
what we'll do is we'll sit him on the plate, lining up the dowels approximately.
Gotcha.
Obviously just making sure first before you put it down that the O-ring's still in place.
Right, okay.
What we'll do is we'll get some oil. feel it locate down.
Right, so it'll stop when it gets there,
Yes.
right?
It'll still be sticking out the best part of an inch.
Gotcha. So obviously lube up the dowels. That's it.
Lovely.
Stuff.
Okay, so
What's
it's all looking
next?
pretty good in there. What we need to do is get some oil to protect the bearing,
Sure.
the front plate,
Mhm.
and also the rotor housing.
So we just, how much of this oil do we use? We just
Well,
put
you
it on sparingly, or?
No, not really. You can put as much on as you want.
Not that much?
Yep, that should
Spread
be
around?
fine. We'll just spread that around.
And do we squirt some oil down into the bearing?
We will do.
Okay.
And we'll put some on the bearing and also some on the...
So actually on the bearing itself?
Yes. Probably squirt it on top here and it'll actually find its own way. Yep, that's fine.
Yeah, I see what they said.
On the rotor housing. Again, just a fine smear,
Mm-hmm.
just to protect the apex seals
Sure.
until oil pressure builds up.
Good. Okay.
Good man.
So what's the next rotor?
What goes next is the rotor. So we'll grab the front number 1 rotor. And of course, we've got the stationary gear here on the plate, so the stationary gear will slide down. Now before it actually put it down,
Mhm.
we'll grab an apex seal
Okay.
and slide that through the rotor,
Just to make sure that
just
it's...
to make sure it's going to seat. So when we slide the apex seals in, see, that one there's moved a bit, which they can do.
It's okay.
It's very important that the side seals slide straight in very easily.
The apex seals?
Yes, otherwise there's a problem. We'll have to pull the rotor back out.
Gotcha. Okay, well that's okay.
Okay, so the rotor
Mm-hmm.
will go, so the rotor gear comes in contact with the
Stationary again.
stationary gear. Now you can get the phasings out of the teeth, you can't be out of tooth.
Okay.
The only way the rotor can fit in there is if it's in its right tooth.
Okay. So I see it's not quite up and down. Is that right?
Well, there is movement. You see how that wasn't?
Yep.
You'll see that all sides should be just about touching.
Right.
When it's like that, constant gap,
Mm-hmm.
you're right.
And that's actually on the teeth at the
It's
top,
sitting
isn't it?
down on the teeth.
So that's yeah, I can feel that. Yeah, it's
Yep.
on the teeth. All right. Okay. Looks like the rotor's bleeding.
That's just me.
Okay, so they've got to mesh up, right?
That's correct. So you can't be out of tooth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what we'll do next,
Yep.
I'll get you to take out the corner seals, because we're using apex seals with dual springs,
Right.
and it's a lot easier to do that with the corner seals out. You can take the spring out with it if it does come out.
Probably pays to put those somewhere so it doesn't
Probably
fall
put
down.
them back on their points so then they don't actually get mixed up,
Okay.
and that way then we know they're up the right way.
Gotcha.
You would need to pull these out if you're using a single spring apex seal.
Okay.
Just makes it easier for a dual spring.
Is that tricky? You have to be careful with that?
Yeah, that is very tricky actually. It's the thing that I found that was difficult there is making sure you don't bring the spring up with it. And if you do, like that one just did, when you put it down, make sure that it's not obstructing the hole for the apex seal, which I've just made sure. So that looks okay.
Okay, so next we'll grab an apex seal.
Okay.
An apex seal and an inner. The dual apex seals.
Okay, so what
The outer.
we'll just explain what we've actually got here. We've got our apex seal.
The apex seal you'll see has got a couple of grooves.
Mm-hmm.
One here, one there, and on the ends. And the small inner goes between these 2 points, and the outer between these 2 points.
So that's an outer, and this is an inner.
They're very small and very fiddly.
So basically what's got to happen, Paul, is that's got to line up with that, and that's got to line up in there.
That's correct.
And we've got to do this while inserting it into the rotor like that.
That's correct.
Sounds like fun.
It can be. The best thing to do is probably put a little bit of oil just down there, just to make sure it's all going to slide the way it should. And just to help it on its way.
Now, you know how you've got that assist piece on the top?
Yes,
Is that always at the top, is it?
the assist piece, which is this section here that's joined, is always at the top.
Always at the top. Okay.
Because what would happen if it was to break off, you wouldn't be able to actually get spring pressure for it.
Sure. Pull the one first.
I'll demonstrate one.
Yep, sure.
They're very small and fiddly.
Sort of get it down halfway or just a little bit.
Okay, so it's in halfway.
So it's touching the other piece, yeah?
So what it actually is doing is hitting on this other recess on the other side,
Yep.
and then this other one can slide over the top. They're very small and very fiddly, so you'll find that sometimes can be quite hard work. This can be pressed down. It falls in like that, and you can see both springs are in.
Yep.
And it's just a matter of pushing the apex seal all the way down, and then reinserting
Corner seal.
corner seal.
Great, so that's
That's done.
successfully in there. Good job. Looks difficult.
It can be.
Let me have a go at that. Now I notice there's like purple marking on this spring. Is that significant?
No.
Okay, good.
Natural. So
Don't count your chickens yet.
it would pay to slide that down until it touches the other recess. And that way then you know it's in properly.
Yep. Okay. Hard part. just slides in over the top.
That's correct. Once it actually starts, it's okay. Spot on.
Is that right?
Beautiful job.
Okay. Good stuff. So you had the hard one there. Alright, Paul, got them in there. That was a bit tricky, but the 3 apex seals are in there nicely. What do we do now?
Okay, so what we'll do, we'll start off, put a bit of oil to protect the rotor bearing.
Mm-hmm.
And next we'll install the eccentric shaft.
Right, gotcha. Do we actually put oil on top of the oil control rings at all?
We will later,
Right,
before
okay.
the centre plate goes back on.
Okay.
Rag for the actor.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Alright, so Paul got the eccentric shaft here, and the skinny part goes down
Down to the front. That's
right,
correct.
okay, gotcha. So shall I put them in there, or you
Well,
leave them
what
up?
we'll do is we'll put a bit of oil on first to these two surfaces. And that can be very carefully dropped. You'll notice the way the bearings will need to sit, so the eccentric shaft will have to go this way.
Mm-hmm.
Just very carefully not to damage the bearings. Should slide all the way in. Lovely.
Good?
Magnificent.
Yeah. Alright. Okay, so what's next, dude?
Okay, what we'll do is we'll put a bit of oil,
Mm-hmm.
spread that around. Okay, and what we'll do is we'll turn the
Oh,
engine.
okay. So this is a tricky part because we're now going to put the intermediate plate on.
Yes, and
Okay.
to do so, the eccentric shaft needs to be lifted.
Lifted, okay, because that's so it fits over that lobe, right?
That's correct. It's got to get over this section of the eccentric shaft.
What section?
That section.
The offset. So the eccentric shaft needs to be pulled out.
Yep. And then just lift over
What
slowly.
we'll do before you actually put the intermediate plate on, if you turn it over, I'll put a bit of oil just on the plate. Can be a bit tricky to get it over. And then what we'll do is we'll slide the eccentric shaft now. Before the plate actually goes on, just have a look,
Sure.
just check, make sure everything is where it should be.
Okay.
If
As
everything's
far as
on-
all the O-rings go.
exactly, and all your seals for your
So
rotor.
now that's slipped over, started to slide over the dowels, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay.
And we may need to give that a slight tap
Sure.
just for it to seat home.
Just a bit more. Just a bit of a gap there.
Right, so that's all in.
Okay.
So now the centric shaft is in.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. We can now start on the rear rotor housing.
Okay. Good.
And again, it's all ready to go with the Holomar, the O-rings for the dowels.
Mm-hmm.
So we can now sit that on. Bit of oil on the dowels, and they'll seat home.
Great.
They should stick up about 5 to 7. There we are.
Beautiful. All right, so it's looking good. So obviously repeat the steps of the first phase.
Exactly.
Lubricate the face.
Lubricate
Lubricate the rotor housing.
That's
the surface of the rotor housing.
before the rotor goes in.
Before the rotor goes in, and what about around the eccentric shafting?
Yeah, the eccentric shaft will lubricate all that as well before the rotor goes in.
Is there any kind of special oil you should use?
Well, everyone uses something different. Some use engine oil, some use two-stroke oil.
So it doesn't really matter, just some
No.
sort of oil.
We're using two-stroke oil today because
That's all we've got.
no, because it'll actually burn much better. It'll burn much better once the engine starts. You can imagine all this oil inside the engine. It'll become very smoky when it first starts.
Yep.
It's really designed just to protect the engine on initial startup. So this will help it burn much cleaner.
Okay. So you can't put too much oil, can you?
Not really, no. Just a bit on the rotor housings as well. Yep. Got a wetsuit? Probably just a fraction bit much in there. When you said you can't have too much, I thought, yeah, you probably can, but I won't say it.
She's all good.
Okay,
Oh, really?
we've got just the right amount of oil in there now.
Okay, good. After your extraction. Alrighty. Okay, so it's time to put the
Rotor in.
second rotor.
Okay, so it's
Obviously
all there,
front.
just paste a check.
Yep.
We've already pre-assembled,
Yep.
just one final check. And what we'll do is we'll now get an apex seal and run it through the grooves again,
Okay.
just to make sure.
Alrighty. Beautiful.
Okay, so we'll put a bit of oil on the rotor bearing.
Can we do that now?
Yes, please.
Yep.
Because that's right to go in.
Okay. Okay, so front's facing downwards.
Okay, remember how the first one went in? It was facing downways.
Yes.
It'll go the opposite now.
Okay, so go
And of
up.
course, that's right. And the rotor
gears.
rotor gear will actually face up for the
Gotcha.
stationary gear.
Gotcha.
You see how all the seals stay in place with the Vaseline,
That's very good.
so you can't be out.
Beautiful.
So as you can see, it physically can't be out of tooth. It wouldn't fit in the rotor housing.
Right, gotcha. So it's exactly opposite to the other side.
Exactly.
Alright, good.
Same process again of putting the apex seals in.
Okay. Alrighty. Alrighty.
Take to push down just to make sure it is seating. If you can feel the apex seal being pushed down, you know it's seated,
Yep.
just to make sure. Yep, lovely.
That's it. Just going to make sure I've got that alignment right, That's it. I should just be able to push that apex seal down.
Yep, and then just push it down to seat.
Lovely.
Okay, next we'll just put a bit of oil over everything.
Yep.
And then we're ready for the rear plate.
Okay. Yep, that's looking good.
It is. Obviously, with before the rear plate goes on, just check everything's done.
Mm-hmm.
The corner seals are right, they're up the right way. Side seals are in, apex seals, bands haven't fallen out.
Yep.
Everything's in place.
I wonder with this Hylamar, that's probably dry now. Do we put a bit more of that on?
No, it's always tacky.
Okay.
Always tacky.
Right, sure.
It doesn't actually dry.
Okay. Good.
Okay, so we'll put a bit of oil in that stationary gear. And on the rear plate. Right, looking good. Yes, you need to be very careful when sliding that on. Lovely. Just to make sure that the eccentric shaft is very sharp just here on the threads, and it can damage the bearing.
Yep. So you've got to get it perfectly aligned like that.
Exactly. Just have a look over the top, line up the hole.
And just
and
let it
straight
go
over.
down. Yep.
Okay, so we're ready for the through bolts.
Great.
So that's basically almost the block completed.
Okay, now the best thing to do for people that are not really experienced with these motors is to number the through bolts, isn't it?
Exactly. What we'll do is we'll put the
Okay.
through bolts in, we'll hand tighten them,
Mm-hmm.
and from there then we'll sequence.
Sure.
Okay, first we've got the through bolts. Actually, no, we've got the through bolts and through bolt washers.
Yep.
Best thing to do there is obviously thread all these on. They go on with the flat section
To the butt of the actual.
to the back of the bolt.
Yep. Okay. Like that.
That's correct. So we'll slide all these on.
Now, does it matter that these through bolts are discoloured? Obviously, they've been
No.
used before.
That's right. No, they're fine.
Okay.
Now, remember we said one was actually different, had the M?
Yes. Yes.
Then the other one has got this extra piece of rubber. And this is an outside one as well.
Right, what's the
Generally,
rubber?
generally doesn't need an O-ring, but you can put it on.
Right. Okay.
Just needs a little bit of oil on the thread, and just a little bit on the washer.
Right. Gotcha. Yep. So that's not much oil. It doesn't need much at all, is
No,
it?
no.
Okay.
and half it would come off and go on the washer.
Right.
Just to help it go in a bit easier.
Yep.
Here's the through bolts, Lance. If you want to put them in,
Okay.
what they do is we've got 2 set aside for the outers.
Right.
Okay, the one we talked about with the M is the longer one, which is this one.
Yep.
And which is slightly higher, so it needs a longer bolt.
Sure.
And another one here, which doesn't need a washer because it's outside of the water gallery.
Gotcha.
So all the rest will have washers on them. So these can be pushed into place.
Okay. So these are all the same, right?
That's correct. Once they're in, they're hand tightened. We'll then number them.
Sure.
Let's do that. I'll just
Nip
use a
them up.
brace.
Sure. That's a pretty handy tool to have.
Oh, it is. Save a lot of time. We'll just nip them up. Now, there's the other 2 on the bench. I'd like to put those in. Now, the one with the M goes on that side.
Yep. So what size is the head of those through bolts?
They're all 17
Okay.
millimetres.
Are you doing this in any specific order?
No,
Not at the moment.
not at this point.
Not at the
No.
moment.
Not until we number them.
Yep. So once we've tightened those up there, Paul, you'll write some numbers on there, and that's the order of tension.
That's correct. Okay, so that's only hand tight. What
Okay.
we'll do is we'll get a texter
A felt tip pen, got one
Yes.
of those? Yep.
and we'll start numbering the actual through bolts. So we'll start off with number 1 here,
Yep.
and we'll start off with number 2 over here, and number 3 here. You'll start to see a pattern. That's
Opposites.
actually exactly number 4,
Okay.
number 5, number 7.
Okay. That's right. So why is there no 6 there, Paul?
Well, 6 would normally be up here,
Okay.
but it was actually deleted
Right.
very early on, so there's no 6. That's a
Okay.
phantom.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. So 7, we've got 8,
8, yep.
we've got 9, got 10, 11, we've got 12, which should be next to 8, 13, 14, 15, 16 beside it, and we have 17, which is the only one left up there, and then we have 18 and 19 on the other side.
Okay. That's just a matter of what's the torque setting for doing these up?
Well, we'll set it up to 30 foot-pound. Now, what we'll do is we'll do it in increments. We won't
Okay,
do it
sure.
all at once.
Okay.
The best thing to do is set it in 3 increments. So we'll do 10, 20,
30.
and then 30.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll start off obviously with number 1. Number 2.
So this will be quite a long process, really.
It
isn't
is.
Yeah.
Three, four. Okay, so we'll set that now at 20 foot-pounds.
Okay. Number 1.
You'll find as you sort of go around and tension it, the other bolts will become loose.
Really?
That's right. Until they're all tensioned up. That's it. No 6, so go straight to 7.
I'll stump some people. They're doing. Now we go up again.
To 30.
Okay. Start again.
Yes,
Now that's the final torque setting, right?
it is.
30?
But once you've completed it,
Mm-hmm.
just we'll run over it again.
Okay.
And that doesn't have to be in sequence. That'll just be
Okay.
straight around.
Great. Sorry about that.
Excellent. Just go around one more
Go
time.
around one more time. Just to make sure.
Yeah, they shouldn't really move, but Lovely. Okay, we'll turn the engine on its side now. And you'll see all the Vaseline is squeezed out, which is good.
Okay. Oh, right, I see. Up here.
Yes,
So that just means we've got a real good seal, right?
exactly. So what we'll do is we'll just wipe that off,
Mm-hmm.
just the excess. And there's the engine block done.
Well, that's good. That's good. So what's the next thing, Paul?
Okay, what we'll do is we'll put on the flywheel. So we'll put on the keyway first.
Sure.
We'll tap that in, and then
Okay.
we'll put on the flywheel. The reason why we do that first is to set up the end float.
Yep.
We need to have the flywheel on.
Now,
Otherwise, you can't set it up.
explain exactly what the end float is.
The end float is the float the eccentric shaft must have so that the bearings at the front aren't squashed.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. So it's the amount of play,
In the
amount of
shaft.
movement in the
That's
shaft.
right. If there's no play at all,
Yep.
all the bearings at the front,
Mm-hmm.
on the front here,
Yep.
all the thrust bearings will be damaged.
Okay. So there seems to be quite a lot of play there at the
There
moment.
is,
Is that
yes.
normal?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Okay. So we need the keyway for the eccentric shaft.
That's correct.
All right. So we've got the keyway here,
Yep.
Paul.
That just fits
Mhm.
in the eccentric shaft.
See over there. Does that actually look too dark? Yeah, that's better. That's cool.
Normally a very tight fit.
Okay, so it just sits in like that and you just tap it in here.
Just edited that because I think this one here might be slightly
Mm-hmm.
a bit too tight. See how that one slides in nicely?
Yep, okay, so here's that one.
This one here, for whatever reason. isn't
That's the
quite-
original one.
Yes. So you can see he goes in a lot better.
Okay.
Okay. So what we'll do,
Smell it?
okay, so that's in.
Is that all? Is that all that's required?
Yes.
Okay.
It's basically, once it's got a taper here on the
Sure.
eccentric shaft,
Mm-hmm.
the flow will then butt up to that taper and lock into place.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll
So-
get the flywheel.
Okay. And I see it's got a hole there for that keyway.
Yes, and it should line up and then slide straight on. You don't need anything like Loctite or anything else. It's a taper. Now before you put on though, Lance,
Mm-hmm.
I will just get you to put a bit of oil.
Mm-hmm.
If we just take it off for a second, just to put a bit of oil to lubricate this seal. The seal runs on the back.
Okay.
You see how it's scored.
Yes.
So just a little bit of oil on that. That can go straight on. Lovely. And then all we need now is the nut to
The
tighten
big
up.
nut. Is there a washer for? Do they have a washer for
No.
this nut or
Well,
not?
early ones do.
Yep.
The way you can tell whether it should have a washer or not is they'll have a little key that's actually in the side, and all it is a dowel pin.
Right.
If it's got a dowel pin, it should have had the washer. If it has no dowel pins, like this one, no.
Okay. And you can see where the old keyway mark was.
Yes. Now these are done up between 280 and 300 foot-pound, which
Jeez.
is a lot.
Okay. And this is where we get our 54mm socket.
That's correct. Now we'll just lower it down. Now most people aren't going to have a tension wrench that'll go up to
300 foot-pound
300
torque.
foot-pound. So what we'll do is we'll show how people can do it without using one.
Okay, with the lever.
Exactly.
So Paul, we've got the flywheel on there,
Mhm.
and I see we've rigged up a chain here
Yeah,
too.
we've rigged up a chain rather than use a flywheel stopper because most people wouldn't have one.
Right, okay,
And ideally, you would have one.
sure.
And it basically bolts in this point and locks into the teeth and stops the flywheel from moving. But
Okay.
most people aren't going to have one. And that's what the whole video is about, doing it yourself.
Gotcha.
So what we've done is rigged up a clutch bolt and a bolt here into the plate. I
Mhm.
wouldn't put on here because obviously it could break
Mhm.
and obviously you're going to have problems.
Yep.
So very strong just here and also on the flywheel. So we'll get
Okay.
you to tighten it up.
Okay, so we've got that flywheel nut on there, just sort of hand tight, and we need this big lever, obviously, because we need to tighten it up as much as we can.
To obtain 280 to 300 foot-pound, you're
Right.
going to need a lever.
Okay, so this is one way of doing it.
Again, no one's going to have a tension wrench that goes up to 280 to 300 foot-pound.
So just,
So we're basically improvising for this video
yeah.
so that other people can do the same.
So how much pressure do I put on this?
Well, you should put a fair bit.
Okay, because that's
I'll
a lot
tell
of.
you when I see you start to strain, then I'll say stop.
That's tight.
Just a fraction more. Right. I can see you straining.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
tight.
That's enough, yes. So we know now the flywheel's not going to come off.
Right.
Take
Okay,
someone's foot off.
that's good. So that chain did the trick nicely.
Yes, so we can just back it off just a fraction. Remove the bolts. The flywheel's on.
Great. So now it's time to do that infloat, you're saying.
Okay.